Hello, this is Todd Chang from Premier FPL. Today I'm going to be prepping for the Game Week 3 for Fantasy Premier League. A couple things that I'm going to review today are just a quick review of last week, some of the points gathered by various players, looking ahead at this week, who are some of the players to target, as well as looking further ahead, who to target. Then also want to take a look at some of the top transfers in and out. And then the last thing to wrap up with is taking a look at some of the teams to target as far as which teams you want to pick players against. All right, so starting out here, we do have last week's Dream Team. Can kind of look through here real quick. Chicharito and Pukki up front, De Bruyne, Bernard, Ceballos, Lamela in midfield along with Mane, and then you have Stevens, Dean, and Lundstrom in the back along with Henderson thanks to his clean sheet. I would say some of the interesting ones to pick out here are all of the Sheffield United players in there. So again, Lundstrom is, I believe he is fourth here in top transfers in. So he's an interesting one to look at. Last I saw, I think he was at 4.1. So yeah, still at 4.1, up to 14.5, 14.7% ownership at this point. And a lot of that has to do with him scoring the goal along with gathering the clean sheet. But yeah, take a look at that a little bit here more here in a little bit. All right, so again, up front, Chicharito is an interesting one. Having played 82 minutes here, and scoring a goal, and 24 minutes in the first match. So he's an interesting one at only 6.0. Not really a bad choice for a forward if you're willing to go with a West Ham player that has, they have some decent fixtures coming up. So he's actually one that I would say has been pretty well overlooked recently. And including myself, I honestly didn't prepare too much to discuss him, but he's one that I might actually take a look at a little bit more here. Just because of looking at some of these fixtures as not being that terrible, especially thinking about the teams that they're playing and scoring potential. Okay, so top transfers in for this week. We have Pukki here. People have really jumped on the bandwagon. He has jumped up to 20.8%. His price was already risen. I think he's risen, 0.3 just this game week. I'm pretty sure he was only at 6.5 before last game week. So that's a pretty massive price rise, and jumping up to 20.8%. That is huge. And I would say one of the big things with that is just being able to jump on board with that at this point before his price rises even further. Now, again, I'll take a little, I think might as well take a look at him now. So one of the other ones in there, as far as considering for points, has been, and again, he was top of the points for this week, has been Barnes. So I did pull up here a little comparison between these two players. 4 goals for Pukki, 3 goals for Barnes. Look at both of them looking really good. Attacking potential. Okay, shots here. They're fairly even as far as shots, even shots on target. Pukki's accuracy is just slightly better, along with shooting percentage is slightly better as well. Big chances scored. Both of them have 2. Both of them have missed 1 as well. The area that I think sets Pukki apart is his ability to create chances for other players. He already has the 1 big chance. See, 79% pass completion rate as well. So I think that is the area where he shines above Barnes, but I think the other part with Barnes is, let's see, maybe we'll just use this one here. Going down here to Barnes. I think the thing that sets Barnes apart here is his price tag and his ownership. So at 6.6 and 6.7% ownership, that's a little bit better. Their fixtures look decent, especially after this Liverpool match. Wolverhampton, that's going to be a tough one, but even against Liverpool, I think that Burnley has a chance to score goals. Now, Pukki, I think his fixtures also aren't terrible, but I think the one thing that I really like about Pukki, where do I have the fixtures here somewhere? Bear with me, what's 1 minute? There we go. Norwich, they play Chelsea at home. Now, the thing with Pukki that I've noticed is he's been able to score against Liverpool, and I feel like if you can score against Liverpool, you're going to be able to score against anybody, particularly for a newly promoted side. Now, I know the statistics are out there showing how Liverpool's XG is up, all of that stuff, but still, a striker who is in form, has the confidence to score, I think he's somebody to really take a look at and really push to bring in. Like I said, Barnes is somebody who I think it might be better to look at him further down the road here for Game Week 5 moving forward. The other thing with Game Week 5 is I think that that's also a better time to get a look at some of the statistics and see really how he does stack up. So then moving into the midfield, go back to my transfers in. Two of the big midfielders here are De Bruyne and Martial. And actually, you know what? De Bruyne, he already has his... everybody knows what you're going to get from him. So I think it's going to be better to take a look here at Danny and compare him to Martial. Now, granted, they're two very different players. Martial is playing sort of a winger / center forward role, kind of rotating back and forth with Rashford. Definitely the goals is what you're looking for with him. One of the big things, though, is their price point. So let me find transfers in. Ceballos is only 5.6. He has 10% ownership, whereas Martial is 7.7 and 15.9% ownership. Ceballos' fixtures aren't very great, but again, Liverpool has been goal prone this season, but looking here at Game Week 8, now the thing with Ceballos is trying to get him in early before his price rises too much. If he does well in either of these two matches, people are definitely going to start to jump on board and his price is going to go up. So now is the time to get on with him. Martial is a player that I was really looking at targeting myself, but I already made some other moves that I think balanced my team a little bit better. And the problem with Martial at this point is I'd have to take a -8 to bring him in, and I'm not willing to do that at this point. That will probably price me out at least until there's a wild card, but so be it. He is a player that, you look at the fixtures. Crystal Palace at home is a great chance to get goals. Southampton away. I think they have the decent fixtures here. Now's a really great time to get on board with him. So let's see if we look here. So he already has, oh, sorry, wrong one. Martial already has the 2 goals, and Ceballos has the 2 assists. Now, again, like I said, they're 2 fairly different players, so it's not really a like for like, but it is something to consider when you're looking at the 2 of them because of the difference in their price point, whether you can fit them in. I think they're both decent players to take a look at. And here, let's look at the team play. So Martial, you kind of know what you're getting. Now, the one thing with him is that he is currently overperforming as far as XG goes. Now, the other side of that is he has consistently overperformed as far as XG goes, and that just seems to be the way that he is. Currently, he has 2 goals and his XG is at 0.88, so he's under 1 goal for his XG. But historically, that has been the case for him. Just consistently overperforming with his XG. So I would say that you know what you're getting with him. He is going to score goals. He's going to have times where he doesn't score goals, but if he is playing consistently, I think 7.7 is a great price point to get him. And I had actually considered bringing him in earlier in the year to start the season, but I was able to work De Bruyne into my team, and I think I do want De Bruyne over Martial at this point. Although that is something to consider because, you're getting, they're two fairly different players, and if I could downgrade from De Bruyne to Martial to kind of increase that goal potential, the goal scoring potential, that actually might be worth it. Would free up some space there for some other players as well. So going back to Ceballos, 2 assists. Now, the one issue here is 0 big chances created. Only the 1 through ball, but it does have 126 touches. It would be interesting to see what his touches kind of in the final third would be. I don't have that in front of me, but that would be an interesting one to see what it's like as far as getting forward, getting into the box, getting into that final third. 5 crosses, and I think those are kind of the big areas to look at. Now, both of them are going to get clean sheet points. Martial already has the 1 clean sheet this season, but I think Ceballos has a chance to get, I think either of them have the chance to get bonus points, but for 2 very different reasons. Ceballos, again, is one of those players. He's going to create space in your team to bring in somebody else simply because of his price point. So yeah, these are the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players brought in for this round. Already 849,000 have brought in Pookie this game week. That is that's almost twice as many as Ceballos for this game week. That's pretty massive. Another interesting one here is Mane, and I think that shows kind of the Mane for Salah swaps that are going on, and then also Martial for the other way around, Salah for Mane swaps, and then the Fraser for Martial swaps have been going on. I think some other people are transferring out Bernardo Silva for Martial is what it looks like, transferring out Aubameyang with Kane doing really well, Wilson. So basically the whole Bournemouth front line with King, Wilson, Fraser being transferred out, some of those guys are really going to start losing value here. So yeah, those are some of the big ones to look at. Robertson I see as one of the top transferred out players as well. Van Dijk is up here. I think a lot of people are worried about the amount of goals that they are giving up. Real quick before I move on, an interesting thing to look at is the creativity. 18 points here for De Bruyne. He's at the top here. His creativity is, far and away above everybody else. Now, the reason I bring that up is because of his ability to bring other players into the game as well as being able to get goals for himself. He has already gotten 3 assists this season, and I think he's going to be one of those. I think he's definitely going to be up there in the scoring. If he can stay healthy all season, I could definitely see him, a top 5 point scorer for this season, just being able to pick up assists consistently as well as getting the odd goal here and there. He's already jumped up 0.1 point. So that's an interesting one to consider. Again, but that's kind of the higher end. Some of these lower range players here, like Buendia or even Cantwell. Cantwell is a very interesting one. Let's actually pull him up real quick. If Norwich can continue to play well, and actually I'm going to put in his buddy Buendia just to compare them real quick. Attacking wise, Buendia is kind of the more attacking player in terms of getting shots. Two shots on target out of his 3 total. No goals yet, but I think Cantwell is a very interesting one. simply because of looking at he's already has 2 assists, very high pass completion rate. So he's doing a great job of getting that ball in there. Not many getting the ball to players, but not very many through balls. Interesting, he still has the 2 assists, but what sets them apart, what sets him apart from Buendia is the price point at only 4.6, and that's already going up from 4.5 from last week. So people are starting to take a look at him and bring him in. Out of these players here, I'd be interested in Mount, but I'm a little bit worried about his playing time between him and Barkley. If he continues to play well, that's great, and at 6.1, really great price point. But I do still worry about his playing time and whether he's going to continue to play. All right, so yeah, as you can see here, I like the creativity in terms of taking a look at which players are involved in the game, and I think creativity is a good one to take a look at what you can kind of expect from players that are more creative, wanting to get forward and involve other players in the team. Let's see. I want to just take a look over here at some other statistics. El Mohammadi is an interesting one as well at only 4.5, fairly high on the creativity list. And in addition to that, he is 0.5 expected assists from open play. So that's not a bad statistic for 4.5 midfielder. The problem is playing for Aston Villa. I trust, at least from my own eye test of looking at the way Norwich plays, I definitely trust someone like Cantwell. So looking here between El Mohammadi and Cantwell. Now, granted, Cantwell is playing midfield, El Mohammadi in defense. But you could even look at like Goodmanson versus Cantwell, Grealish versus Buendia. I think I'd rather have the Norwich players at this point. Villa have looked like they've struggled a little bit more than Norwich, just in terms of attacking potential. Okay, so moving ahead, looking at some of these teams that I think are going to struggle this season. I would say that West Ham, at least to start the season, have been pretty poor. They have already allowed 6 goals conceded this season. Their XG of on-target shots is already at 4.9 per game. And then the XG conceded is even at 5.2. So it's not too far off from what they've already allowed. So it's really close there. I think that they're a team that are giving up a lot of shots, and they're going to continue to give up a lot of goals. The other 2 here are Southampton and Aston Villa. Villa has given up 5 goals this season. Along with that, they have conceded 4.1 XG is their XG conceded is where they're at. And then on target conceded is also, the XG on target is 3.6. The open play goal attempts, they are actually at the top or bottom, however you want to look at it. The open play goal attempts that they have conceded, Aston Villa has conceded 33. West Ham has conceded 23. And interesting enough, Tottenham has actually conceded 28 open play goal attempts. And along with that, the XG on target conceded for Tottenham is 4.4, and then the XG conceded is even at a 3.62, which is just slightly above the 3 goals that they have conceded. But it's just very interesting that they are giving up that many shots. I don't have actually the location of their shots, so it could be that they're giving up longer range shots. So from open play, Southampton has already given up 5. West Ham has given up 4. Aston Villa 3. So I would say, at least for now, these are 3 of the teams that you could pretty well target as far as teams that are going to be giving up giving up goals most likely. The next down on the XG conceded is Bournemouth at 3.79, having given up 2 goals so far. The fourth down is Tottenham. Now, I think a lot of it has to do with the 2 goals that they conceded to City, and I think a lot of their XG conceded even comes from that match, along with even the open play goal attempts, without actually looking at those game statistics, but just something to look at. The other interesting one here, the fifth down as far as XG conceded, is Crystal Palace. They've only given up 1 goal, but have a 3.3 XG conceded, having given up 28 goal attempts conceded and 2.1 XG on target conceded. So I would say targeting teams to start the season, West Ham, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace look like the teams that are giving up kind of the most XG conceded alongside the goals conceded. So if you kind of combine taking a look at those two things, I think those are some of them that you could really take a look at. So if you would take a look at the goals conceded minus XG conceded, Southampton is really at the top of that with a plus 0.28, followed by Watford at 2.49 and Norwich at 2.21. So those are some others to also consider if you're looking at attacking teams going against them. And you can see them, a lot of these teams are right here at the top of this goals allowed, goals against for this season. So for now, those are teams to definitely target. I would say West Ham, I would put at the top of that. So teams that are going to be playing West Ham would be somewhere to really take a look at targeting. Let's look at their fixtures coming up here, Premier League. So you do have Watford. Now that could be an interesting one, goals on either end. Same thing with Norwich, but so you have Watford, Norwich, Aston Villa, followed by United, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace. The interesting thing in there is you do have a lot of teams in there that are also giving up goals. So looking at attacking returns, it's not a bad idea to target some of those teams. But if you're looking at the attacking and defensive returns, could be an interesting one to see which way that really goes. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I would say to target some of those teams. Watford, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace even. I think that Crystal Palace, the fact that they only gave up 1 goal has more to do with who they've played. And, if you look at them, the way that they do play, they're not scoring goals. They don't look all that confident. I think that they're somebody that will be giving up goals in the coming weeks. They do play Manchester United this weekend. Take a quick look here at who they have coming up. Manchester United and Aston Villa, then Tottenham, Wolverhampton, Norwich. So that's also one of the reasons that I really do like Norwich moving forward is, yes, they have Chelsea, they have City, but in there you have West Ham, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Bournemouth. I think they're going to be able to score goals in that time, including going up against Chelsea. Now, City, they kept a clean sheet. They did keep a clean sheet in game week 1. Is that right? Yeah, kept a clean sheet in game week 1. But again, that was against West Ham, and you could tell, that's a team that's not. I don't think they look that great. Yeah, I think that City is a team that can give up goals, and so that's also why I'm on board the Pookie Party train. There are a couple other quick statistics here. De Bruyne at the top of key passes, followed by Grealish and Cantwell, Buendia up there as well. Penalty area shots, Pookie is at the top. Sterling, Barnes, Bernardo Silva is actually up there, but has only played 1 match. Leandro Trossard is up there along with Harry Kane. Now, between all of the forwards, the premium forwards, I think Kane is the better bet to go with. Just looking over this real quick. The penalty area there has done well as far as getting shots in. Only one goal so far, but again, they did play City last week. And moving forward, I actually don't know their schedule offhand, so let's just jump back here and take a look real quick. I'm fairly certain they do have good fixtures moving forward, other than that Arsenal match. But so even against Arsenal, yeah, I mean, you never know how that's going to go. But they do have Newcastle, Crystal Palace. Leicester has been a little bit shaky from watching them. Southampton, Brighton could be a tricky one, especially away to Brighton. And Watford, again, another team giving up goals. So Tottenham is another team to really look at targeting as far as picking up players, along with Norwich. Okay, so I think that's really where I'm going to leave it. Some of the top players to target for this week, I would say some of those Norwich players like Pukki, even trying to make room for Cantwell there. If you want to bring in Ceballos, not a bad one. Martial, I think, is a really good one, especially moving forward. If he can continue to get those goals, he's really an out of position midfielder playing forward. Back line. Now, I did pull up here a little bit with Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I know some people have talked up Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he looks very good defensively, very solid, has brought a lot of solidity back there, but I haven't seen really all that much from him as far as attacking potential. And I think Alexander-Arnold is definitely a better chance if you look between the two of them. But I'm not sold on the idea of having Wan-Bissaka in my back line at this point, simply because I think there are better options out there. Like even Lundstrom, I think, is a better option. He's done very well. No, actually, let's pull him up real quick. If I can spell his name right, pull him up here. He already has the goal from last week. I don't think he's going to be, huge goal threat moving forward. But as far as creating chances, I think that's something that he will continue to do. Already has the 3 big chances created, 5 crosses here, a through ball. So I think he's looking really good as far as attacking returns go for a forwards or for a defender. Same thing, Dean, I'm sticking with him. Do have him in my team. But Lundstrom, I think, is one of those big ones to target. Now, Peters, he's a very interesting one. He's done well as far as creating chances, and the question is whether he's going to continue to play or if Taylor is going to take over when he comes back. But at least for now, 4.6 defender. He was 4.5. Definitely we're looking to create chances for Burnley on that wing. He's another decent one to pick up. All right, so I think that is actually where I'm going to leave it for this week. You want captain's picks? I mean, between Sterling, Salah, and Kane, I would say Kane or Sterling, depending on which one you have. If you need to choose between one of those two, I would say to go with Kane at this point. That's right, I have this worded this way. I think Kane has a better fixture against against Newcastle at home. So I feel like that is a better fixture than Bournemouth away. Although Bournemouth hasn't looked stellar as far as defense goes, so Sterling has just as good a chance to get another brace, hat trick, whatever, for this next week. All right, well, I think that's exactly where I'm going to leave it for this week. And as always, I wish you all good luck and have fun.